Hey guys, AJ here, back on the other one. So today we're going to look at a couple of articles that talk about this new increase in violence among teen girls. Now they're saying that it's new and that it's noticing, but if you look at social media and like a lot of videos on YouTube and Twitter and World Star and all these things, you actually see more young girls fighting than young boys. You know what I'm saying? It's just craziness. And we have this first article here, and this article's from today, but you might have noticed this story in the news. And this is about this young girl. She's 14, and she deleted herself after these four girls jumped her in her high school. But before we do that, guys, please remember to like, subscribe, drop a comment. It really helps to keep this channel going. So, Adriana Koch, 14, died by self-deletion 2 days after she was allegedly assaulted in her high school hallway. Look at that. So 4 New Jersey high school students have been charged in connection with the deletion of a 14-year-old classmate who self-deleted herself days after they allegedly attacked her in the school hallway. They recorded the incident and shared the video on social media because, of course, they did, right? Citing prosecutors, one juvenile has been charged with aggravated assault. The other 2 have been charged with conspiracy to commit aggravated assault, and the other has been charged with harassment after their classmate, Adriana Koch, died by self-deletion 2 days after they allegedly bullied and beat her at Central Regional High School in Bayville, New Jersey. Her father found her. That's sad, man. Since then, the teen suspects and their guardians have been served with copies of their complaints and have been released from police custody pending future court sentences. According to the outlet, Koch said prior to his daughter's deletion, a video circulated on social media platforms, including TikTok, allegedly showing her walking with her boyfriend in the school's hallway when she was brutally assaulted with a water bottle. So, despite blacking out, suffering from a substantial amount of bruising all over her body, she was only treated by the school nurse. The father alleges school leaders failed to notify the authorities. Wow, a kid is assaulted with a weapon, and their policy is not to call the police. He says, "I do know why it happened. The 2 girls didn't like each other for a couple years, and she's been threatening my daughter online." Wow. So, guys, historically, you would only see boys resorting to violence. You'd be bullying this kid, blah blah. Then there'd be a fight. But now you see girls doing this more and more, and you can guarantee that if these were young boys, they would not be out of jail. Right? So they just don't really give girls these consequences, and then stuff like this will happen. So look at this story right here, guys.
A new CDC report shows that U.S. teen girls are experiencing record levels of sadness and violence.
So record levels of sadness and violence with teen girls.
Data released Monday shows that 3 in 5, or 57%, of teen girls felt sad or hopeless in 2021.
Look at that, guys. Look at the boys, 21% to 29%. And this is even now. Girls are outperforming boys in high school academically. They're doing better. They're going to college more. You know what I'm saying? So, like, what could they have to cry about? Oh, wait, social media, feminism, all this foolishness. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
That's 2 times more than teen boys, and the highest level reported over the past decade. The report also shows an increase in sexual violence and suicide risk among teen girls.
Notice how they said suicide risk, because girls might attempt self-deletion, but boys actually do it when they try.
For more on this,
or have a higher percentage.
I am joined by the author of that report, Dr. Deborah Oury. Doctor, thank you so much for being with us. Why are teen girls in particular vulnerable to these? In the findings, what makes teen girls particularly vulnerable?
So I think what I would say is that teen girls aren't vulnerable per se because
Now, how much you want to bet that she blames it on men? Right here we go.
um, violence is being perpetrated against them. So I think we need to look at holistically boys and girls
Of
as
course,
important
because you just can't look at girls. Oh no, you got to talk about boys too.
to address both in these findings. And what I would say is when you look at something like sexual violence, if you're experiencing it, you are more likely to have mental health symptoms, use substances, feel disconnected. So we really need to address it all.
I guess what I meant was with specifically with respect to the sense of sadness and hopelessness, distinct from the issue of sexual violence. Is there something that is happening that is making teen girls feel sadder and more hopeless than boys?
So what we've seen is just over time, this worsening. We saw issues with this pre-pandemic, and certainly it got worse during the pandemic. Some of this can be due to things like social isolation, but also things like social media.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Self-image, bullying at school. So there's no single reason for it, but many things we can do about it.
Another thing that they don't talk about is how all these young girls now all try and be these silly, woke activists, right? If you tell people that being a victim is cool, and they're gonna try and find every single checkbox to believe they're victimized and that the world's a hard, crazy place, you're gonna be depressed. If you have a victim mentality, you are gonna be depressed. If you have a victor mentality, you probably won't be depressed.
And did your findings show not just a difference in quantity of feelings, but in type or severity? The word hopelessness to me seems particularly powerful. Was it that you were not only finding more incidents, but that there was a deeper sense of feeling of hopelessness than you had found before?
Think about this. You have teenage girls who live in America, the greatest, most powerful country that's ever lived. They're not missing meals. There's no famine or war or any of that stuff. They're the freest group of young girls that have ever existed, and they feel hopeless. Make that make sense, guys.
So we didn't look at the deeper senses, but what we did also look at was suicide. And so we did see that there were increases in attempted suicide or wanting to make a suicide plan. So that is more severe, certainly, than solely feelings.
And what's your view about the difference between girls and boys in the findings?
So girls were more likely to feel suicidal and to attempt suicide. And our gay, bisexual, and
But they don't say that boys, when they do try, they do it more.
questioning youth were
They succeed.
also more likely to attempt suicide. Both really went up. And I think that's what's striking and devastating is, nearly 10% of girls attempted suicide and 20% of our gay, bisexual, and questioning youth attempted suicide. As a parent, I just can't even imagine. And these are things that we need to address now.
But I guess what I mean is we know how they differed, girls and boys, but is there any reason or any preliminary thinking about why they were different, the difference between girls and boys in the findings?
You notice he said that asked the same question multiple times?
So I think, drawing from what you raised about the hopelessness, sadness, also we saw that boys were more likely to feel connected to school. So I think where you've got some of the social supports in place, like connectedness, and then on the flip side, if you have more mental health symptoms and you're experiencing trauma, you're more likely then to attempt suicide.
I think trauma is the most overused word these days, guys. None of us had to go through a world war. None of us had to go through the depression. None of us had to go through anything too crazy. None of us really have trauma these days, guys. Let's be honest, right? And also, she says boys feel more connected at school as boys are falling behind in school and dropping out of high school at record rates. So how does that work?
And Doctor, you mentioned how just gut-wrenching these numbers would be to parents, particularly. Let's start with parents. What and how, knowing these new data, can parents do to recognize the signs, to begin the conversation? when those of us who've been parents of teenagers know that that's sometimes very difficult to do?
So I think to be as open and non-judgmental as possible. So
There you go. Well, guys, we can stop it here. Be as open and non-judgmental as possible. That's how we got here in the first place, right? It's because we have this open, free. You can try and do anything you want, be anything you want. We can be, identify as anything foolishness. And guys, we need to bring shame and judgment back. How about that? Because it wasn't like this, 30, 40 years ago, So, guys, I'll leave the link to this whole video. There isn't really much left, but it's just foolishness on from here. So let me know what you think, guys. I mean, I think that this is what feminism and social media and all this stuff. Women wanted the right to be free, and now they're free to succeed, and they're free to fail. And it looks like they're choosing the latter. And it's funny, guys, because like I've said this once before: white, black, Asian, it doesn't matter. If you're a guy, we don't even need to do anything, guys. We sit back and let them just ruin their own lives. We don't have to do anything, guys. Just keep your head down, make your money, get your money game up, keep your wolf pack of good friends, and our lives as men will be just fine. All right, you guys, this is AJ. I appreciate you guys. I'm out of here.